Space was silent, but the silence felt wrong. Even before the scanners finished loading, the crew of the human scout ship, Arrow 9, could feel something terrible waiting for them near the allied world called Varenna. The planet had stopped sending signals 40 hours ago. No messages. No warnings. No distress call. It was as if the entire colony had forgotten to breathe. Commander Hale stood at the front of the bridge and watched the dark screen in front of him. He was a calm man, known for control, but even he felt a tightness in his chest. Varenna was not just any colony. It was home to millions of Earth's closest allies. They had always stood beside humanity. And now, they were silent. "Bring us out of jump space," Hale ordered. The stars stretched, twisted, and snapped back into shape. Arrow 9 returned to real space, and at first everyone thought the scanners were broken. There should have been lights on the planet, ship traffic, shield beacons, communication towers. Instead, Varenna looked like a cold stone floating in the dark. No movement. No life. "Commander," whispered Ensign Lyra, her voice shaking. "I'm picking up debris." Hale walked toward her console. Small metal pieces were drifting across the planet's orbit. Some were the same silver-blue metal used by Varennian ships. Others carried the distinct shape of human-made hulls, the kind used for defensive patrols. Arrow 9 moved closer, and the bridge fell silent as the ship's lights revealed the truth. The debris was not random. It was wreckage. The remains of ships that had been destroyed so fast they never had the chance to escape. Some still had scorch marks. Some still had drifting pieces of armor. One piece even had a half-burned Varennian emblem on it. Something violent had happened here. "Try contacting the colony," Hale said, though he already knew no one would answer. The comms officer tried again and again, switching frequencies, boosting the signal, sending codes only Varennian leaders knew. But every attempt came back empty. "Planetary defenses?" Hale asked. "Gone," the officer replied. "Not disabled, destroyed." Arrow 9 entered low orbit. The crew stared in horror as Varenna's once bright cities appeared as grey shapes marked by explosion patterns and fire scars. Defensive towers had melted like wax. Civilian centers were dark. There were no rescue flares, no movement, no signals of survivors. This was no battle. It was a massacre. Hale clenched his fists. Allies or not, no one deserved this. And whoever did this wanted the message to be clear. Varenna had not failed by accident. It had been wiped out. "Commander," Lyra whispered, "we are detecting a heat signature on the planet." Hale turned to her sharply. "Survivors?" Lyra shook her head. "No, sir. Something else. Something very large. It's not moving." Arrow 9 shifted its sensors toward the location. A large circular burn mark stretched across a massive part of the planet's surface, too perfect to be natural, too precise to be a random weapon strike. It was a symbol. Sharp-edged. Geometric. Alien. The crew stared at it. None of them recognized it. But it felt wrong, like something ancient and violent. Before Hale could speak, the ship's lights flickered. "Energy spike behind us," shouted the sensor officer. Arrow 9 spun its view to the rear. At first, there was nothing but stars. But then, slowly, something massive began to appear. Dark metal edges shimmered as if pulling themselves out of the shadows. The entire crew gasped as the full shape emerged, a huge warship, at least 5 times the size of Arrow 9, covered in armor plates carved with the same symbol burned into Varenna. It had been there all along, hiding in stealth mode, watching them. "Raise shields," Hale commanded. Too late. A deep vibration shook the ship. Red warning lights flashed. A beam of unknown energy grazed Arrow 9's hull, slicing through their shields like they were made of paper. Damage to the stern. Shields down 20%. Hale knew this was no ordinary enemy. This ship had technology far beyond theirs. He had to act fast. "Send a message to Earth Command," he ordered. "Full report. Everything we've seen." The comms officer began transmitting, but another tremor rocked the ship as the enemy warship powered its weapons again. "Commander." Lyra cried. "They're locking on us." Hale kept his voice steady. "Get the message out. That's all that matters." The enemy ship glowed brighter. Hale looked at the screen and whispered softly, "So you were waiting for us." The transmission reached halfway when static filled the bridge. The enemy ship fired. A blast of dark purple energy hit Arrow 9. Consoles exploded. Smoke filled the air. Hale grabbed the nearest rail to stay standing. Through the smoke, the comms officer shouted, "Message still sending." But then everyone froze. A voice had come through the speakers. A deep, cold voice from the enemy ship. The translator broke trying to process it, but one sentence was clear. They were weak. Hale stared at the screen. "And you will be next." The transmission cut. Earth Command only received Hale's final whisper. "They are still here." And then, silence. Earth Command went silent after hearing Hale's last message. Officers stared at each other, unsure if they should believe what they heard. A hidden enemy. A symbol burned into an entire planet. An ally civilization erased in hours. And the final whisper. They are still here. Inside the command hall, Admiral Rowan took a long breath as the room lights dimmed for emergency briefing mode. He was known as one of the calmest leaders in the entire human fleet, but even he felt pressure growing behind his eyes. "Play the recording again," he ordered. The hologram replayed Arrow 9's final moments. Varenna's destroyed orbit. The alien symbol. The sudden appearance of the massive stealth warship. Then the static, and Hale's final words. Officers shifted uncomfortably. "That symbol," muttered Dr. Lena Morrow, the chief xenologist. "It matches old rumors. Records from over 200 years ago. A race that never joined any alliance. A race that believed all others should kneel." Rowan turned toward her. "A name." She swallowed. "The Dravak Dominion." A cold wave ran through the room. The Dravak were supposed to be myths, ancient conquerors who vanished centuries ago. Some believed they destroyed themselves. Others believed they were shadows waiting for the galaxy to weaken. But no one thought they were real. Until now. "If they slaughtered Varenna," Rowan said, "what do they want next?" The room stayed silent. Everyone was thinking the same answer. "Earth. Mobilize a rescue fleet," Rowan ordered. "I want every available ship prepared. We recover survivors if there are any, and we find Commander Hale." "Yes, sir." Within hours, the largest mid-range response fleet humanity had used in decades formed above Earth. War frigates, medical cruisers, sensor ships, all rushing toward the broken ally world. The flagship, ESS Titan, opened its hangar bay as soldiers and engineers boarded. Titan was one of Earth's most advanced warships, designed for heavy combat and long-range missions. But even Titan had weak spots, and everyone wondered if they would be enough. Lieutenant Mara Jin stood at the observation deck, staring at the stars. She had seen battles before, but this felt different. This enemy did not negotiate, did not send warning, did not leave survivors. "What do you think really happened out there?" she asked the officer beside her. "Something stronger than anything we've faced," he replied. "And it waited until we were watching." Mara frowned. Why would they wait? He didn't answer. Because the answer was too frightening. To see Earth's reaction. To measure our fear. To learn our weaknesses. As Titan entered jump space, the crew received new data. Satellite scans of Varenna showed strange energy readings not seen before. The AI officer explained, these readings were not present before the attack. They matched Dravak weapon signatures from abandoned ruins across the galaxy. Everyone froze. "The Dravak were here long before we arrived," Mara whispered. Titan dropped out of jump space near Varenna, and immediately alarms rang. Multiple energy sources detected. Unknown signatures. Large masses. But nothing moved. The planet floated quietly, and wreckage drifted like frozen tears around it. The crew held their breath as Titan passed through broken ship parts, each one a story of someone's final moment. Any signals? Rowan asked through comms. None, sir, replied the sensor officer. But there is something strange. A small drone camera approached the giant alien symbol on the planet's surface. It wasn't just a burn mark. It was carved deep into the crust, like someone wanted the whole galaxy to see it. A message in the darkness. A warning. A claim. Suddenly, Titan's sensors spiked. Massive energy waves approaching from behind the planet. Everyone braced as three large objects emerged from the shadows. Triangle-shaped hulls. Black armor. Sharp edges glowing faint fire red. Dravak warships. They had been waiting in silent orbit. Just like they waited for Arrow 9. Battle stations, the captain shouted. Shields up. Titan turned sharply, its engines roaring as other human ships formed a defensive net. The crew looked at the enemy ships, silent, predatory, unmoving. The Dravak were studying them. Again. Rowan's voice came through comms. Do not fire unless they fire first. Let's see if they communicate. A long moment followed. Every second stretched like a wire ready to snap. Then the Dravak ships glowed brighter. The decision was made. They were not here to talk. Incoming fire, shouted the sensor officer. Dravak plasma beams shot through space like burning lightning. Titan's shields flickered violently. Shields down 10%. Left flank hit. Frigate 7 losing power. Titan responded with rail cannons and missile bursts. Explosions shook the void. A human cruiser fired a full barrage, hitting one Dravak ship and finally cracking its armor. But the Dravak did not retreat. Instead, they opened a channel. A voice filled Titan's bridge, deep, cold, and ancient. Your allies were weak, the voice said slowly. And you will fall next. The transmission ended. Titan's bridge fell silent. The Dravak wanted war. And they wanted humanity to fear it. The first Dravak shot had shaken Titan, but the second one felt personal. It was like the enemy wanted Titan to know the difference between a warning and a death sentence. On the bridge, sparks flew as the crew rushed to stabilize power. The lights flickered, turning the room into a strobe of panic and determination. Return fire. Target the lead ship, the captain ordered. Titan's rail cannons roared to life, sending metal slugs at near-light speed. They slammed into the Dravak vessel, punching holes through its outer armor. But the ship barely reacted. It felt like hitting a mountain, massive, unmoving, and cruelly confident. Direct hit, but minimal effect, reported Lieutenant Mara Jin. The Dravak ship answered with a storm of red plasma. A human destroyer took the full blast, its shields collapsing instantly. The ship split open, scattering burning fragments into space. The crew stared in silent horror. The battle had just begun, and already humanity was losing pieces of itself. Pull the fleet back. Admiral Rowan commanded from Earth Command. His voice echoed through the bridge of Titan. Form a tight phalanx. Make them come to us. Titan and the surrounding ships formed a defensive formation. The Dravak approached slowly, like hunters who enjoyed watching fear rise in their prey. They're scanning us, Mara said quietly. The sensor officer nodded. They're studying our weapons. Our shield frequency. They're learning us. Mara's stomach twisted. They weren't just fighting. They were being measured. Commander Hale tried to warn us, she whispered. They didn't destroy Varenna for territory. They destroyed it to send a message. Before anyone could reply, the Dravak ships scattered suddenly in 3 directions. The bridge filled with alarm tones. They're flanking us. Multiple lock-ons. Brace for impact. Titan shook as plasma beams sliced across its hull. A nearby frigate exploded in a burst of white light. A human cruiser fired desperately, landing several hits on a second Dravak ship, but again, no visible reaction. The Dravak fought like machines. No hesitation. No fear. No disorder. Just cold, unstoppable intent. Hit them again, the captain yelled. Full power to forward cannons. Titan fired a concentrated triple shot. This time, The shots penetrated deep into the Dravak hull. One of the enemy ships flickered and drifted sideways, engines sputtering. A cheer rose in Titan's bridge, quick, hopeful, human. But then the damaged Dravak ship did something terrifying. It accelerated. Straight toward Titan. "Suicide run," someone shouted. "Evasive maneuvers." Titan turned sharply, engines straining. The Dravak ship scraped the edge of Titan's shield, ripping massive energy from it before spinning away, half burning, but still alive. "Who does that?" Mara whispered. The answer came from the captain, his voice grim. "A species that doesn't fear death." The Dravak ships regrouped. Their formation shifted into a sharp triangle pointed at Titan. Energy readings spiked higher than before. "They're charging a massive weapon," the sensor officer warned. "Something we haven't seen yet." On Earth Command, Rowan clenched his jaw. "Titan, pull back. You cannot take that blast." But Titan didn't move. Something had appeared on the sensors. A faint signal. Weak. Broken. But human. "Sir!" Mara shouted. "We're receiving a distress code." Rowan leaned forward. "From who?" "Origin, surface of Varenna." The whole bridge went silent. Someone was alive. The captain reacted instantly. "Prepare a landing team. We're retrieving survivors." "Sir," Mara said, "the Dravak are blocking the planet. They'll tear us apart." He looked at her, steady and determined. "If someone survived the massacre, we're not leaving them." Before the landing team could launch, the faint signal changed. The static cleared just enough to form a voice. A voice they all recognized. "Commander Hale." Mara's eyes widened. "He's alive." Hale's voice cracked with static. "Earth, listen carefully. Dravak, they're not here for conquest. They're here because of something we found." "What did you find?" Rowan demanded. But Hale's reply came broken, fading, as if he were running or fighting while trying to speak. "Something ancient, something below the colony. They wanted it destroyed, and now they want us silenced." The message cut suddenly, leaving the bridge in heavy silence. What did the colony discover? Mara whispered. What scared the Dravak so much that they wiped out an entire world? The question hung in the air like cold smoke. But the Dravak had no intention of giving them time to think. Their ships flared with burning red light. "They're firing the charged weapon," the sensor officer shouted. Titan braced. The galaxy held its breath. A beam erupted, huge, blinding, powerful enough to tear a ship in half. But at the last second, a smaller human frigate, Ravenfall, moved in front of Titan. "Ravenfall, what are you doing?" Titan cried out. In their final transmission, the Ravenfall captain answered. "Protect the Titan, at all costs." The beam hit. Ravenfall vanished. Titan survived, but only barely. And the Dravak finally spoke again, their voice colder than before. "You search for truth. You should fear it." The message ended. The Dravak turned toward the planet. And vanished into stealth mode. Hunting something. Or someone. The survivors of Varenna. Titan floated in orbit, damaged, quiet, and trembling from the sacrifice of the Ravenfall. The crew stood in silence, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. The Dravak had disappeared again, vanishing into the dark like beasts that only attacked when their prey thought they were safe. No one on Titan dared to speak for several seconds. Finally, Mara broke the silence. "They didn't leave because of us," she said softly. "They left because of what Commander Hale said. They're going back to the planet." The captain nodded. "Whatever is hidden on Varenna, they want it destroyed. Completely." A new fear crept into every mind on the bridge. What could possibly scare a species as powerful as the Dravak? Admiral Rowan appeared on Titan's main screen. His voice was steady, but his expression showed the weight of the moment. "You must find Hale," he said. "He knows something important. Something dangerous. Titan cannot return to Earth until we have the truth." "Understood," the captain replied. But Mara leaned forward. Sir, how do we avoid the Dravak? They are cloaked. They could be anywhere. Rowan's answer was grim. You must assume they are everywhere. The screen went dark. Titan's landing ship, the Falcon II, descended toward Varenna. Mara, along with a small team of soldiers and engineers, strapped themselves in. They wore enhanced armor but knew it wouldn't matter much if the Dravak wanted them dead. The ship passed through thick clouds of ash. The air smelled of burning metal and dust. The once beautiful Varennian forests were now black fields of shattered trees. The cities were gone, nothing but broken walls and melted towers. Mara whispered, "How many lives were lost here?" "Millions," replied the pilot quietly. "And not one body left. The Dravak took everything." The Falcon II landed near the deepest ruins, where Hale's last signal came from. As the team stepped outside, their boots sank slightly into grey soil mixed with ash from worlds destroyed. The wind carried a faint humming noise deep underground. "What is that?" one soldier asked. Mara checked her scanner. Not a machine. Not natural either. Something alive? Or something waking? The humming grew stronger. The team reached a collapsed research station. Its walls were twisted, melted, bent outward, like something inside had forced its way out. Scorch marks covered the ground. And in the center was a large hole leading underground. "This is where Hale's signal came from," Mara said. The hole led into darkness. Cold, echoing darkness. The soldiers lowered lights and ropes. As Mara descended, she felt the air shift, heavy, ancient, like the hidden heart of a forgotten world. At the bottom, the tunnel opened into a wide chamber. And there, leaning against a cracked support beam, was Commander Hale. Alive. Barely. His armor was shredded, his face bruised, but his eyes lit up the moment he saw them. "You came," he whispered. Mara rushed to him. "We're getting you out of here. What did the Dravak want?" Hale shook his head weakly. "No, you don't understand. It's not what they wanted. It's what they feared." He pointed deeper into the underground chamber. And the team saw it. A massive, ancient structure. Not Dravak. Not Varennian. Definitely not human. Its walls glowed faintly with golden patterns. Energy pulsed through it like it was alive. The humming sound came from deep inside the structure. Slow, rhythmic, like a creature dreaming. "What is that?" Mara whispered. Hale's voice trembled. "It is called the Eon Core. The Varennian scientists discovered it by accident 2 months ago. They thought it was a power source, or a relic. But it's much more." He swallowed hard. "It is a machine from an extinct civilization. A civilization that once fought the Dravak, and almost wiped them out." The soldiers looked at each other, horrified. Hale continued, "The Dravak came to destroy the Eon Core before the galaxy could learn its secrets. They didn't want anyone else to have the only weapon that once defeated them." Mara whispered, "So they massacred an entire planet, because they were afraid." Hale nodded. "And now they know humans are here. They know we found it too. They will return. They will burn this world to its core." Suddenly, the humming of the Eon Core changed tone. Faster. Louder. As if reacting to Hale's words, or sensing the humans. Lights flickered across the chamber walls. The ground shook lightly. Hale pulled Mara closer. "We must leave before it activates. If the Dravak detect it waking up, they'll unleash something even worse." Before Mara could respond, a sound echoed through the tunnels. A sharp metallic howl. A sound the team had already heard in space, the Dravak beacon tone. One soldier whispered in terror, "They're here." Falcon II shouted through comms, multiple contacts approaching fast. "They dropped stealth. They're landing near your position." Mara and the others raised their weapons. Hale tried to stand. "We must hurry. The Dravak want this chamber sealed forever. They won't let us live." But then the Eon Core pulsed again, this time exploding with a shockwave of light so bright it blinded everyone for a moment. When Mara opened her eyes, She felt something new. Something watching her. The Eon core wasn't just waking. It was noticing them. And in that moment, deep underground, Mara understood something terrifying. The Dravak were not the only ancient power in this war. Something older, and possibly stronger, had just opened its eyes. The underground chamber shook as the Eon core awakened. Golden lights crawled across the ancient walls like veins filling with new life. Dust drifted from the ceiling as the vibration grew stronger, deeper, more alive. Mara took a step back. It's rising in power. What woke it? Hale gave a weak smile. Us. Humans. The core reacts to intention. It feels our fear, our anger, and our will to survive. The soldiers looked at each other. The humming grew louder, echoing like something breathing after a long sleep. Then Falcon 2 spoke through comms again, but this time the voice was panicked. Dravak forces entering the ruins. Multiple units. They're coming straight for your position. Mara tightened her gloves. We're out of time. Move. The team lifted Hale and raced toward the exit, but before they reached the tunnel entrance, the ground ahead lit up with 3 red glowing eyes. Dravak soldiers. Tall, armored, and moving like shadows with blades instead of emotions. They stepped forward silently, weapons raised. One of them pointed at the Eon core and spoke in a deep, ancient voice. It must not awaken. This world must fall. Mara whispered, they aren't here to kill us, they're here to kill the core. But the Dravak soldiers didn't wait. They attacked. Energy blades slashed through the air. The soldiers fought with brutal precision, forcing the humans backward. Mara fired her rifle, hitting one Dravak in the chest, but the alien barely flinched. They were strong. Too strong. One Dravak grabbed Mara and slammed her into a wall. Her vision blurred. She kicked back, firing point-blank into its helmet. The creature stumbled, giving her a moment to breathe. But the Dravak kept coming. Hale shouted, "Get to the core. It reacts to human presence. Maybe it can help." Mara hesitated, confused, but she had no choice. She ran toward the glowing ancient machine as the Dravak closed in on her. The moment her hand touched its surface, the chamber exploded with light. Golden energy burst outward like a shockwave. Dravak soldiers were thrown back, hitting the walls with enough force to crack armor. The ruins trembled, and deep inside the core, something shifted, like gears turning after 1,000 years. Hale stared in disbelief. It's responding to you. Mara stepped back as the core's surface reshaped, forming symbols and rings of moving light. The humming became a soft voice in her mind, not words, but feelings. Strength. Awakening. Recognition. It knows humans, she whispered. It sees us as allies. Before Hale could answer, Titan's voice cut through the comms. Landing zone compromised. Dravak reinforcements arriving by the dozens. You must evacuate immediately. The Dravak soldiers rose again, angrier than before. One pointed directly at Mara. You touch the forbidden machine. You bring death to your kind. Mara's jaw tightened. Humans don't fear death half as much as we fear losing our allies. She lifted Hale and motioned for the team to move. But before they could escape, the chamber ceiling ripped open. A Dravak warship appeared overhead, not flying, but hovering through anti-gravity, its engines glowing red inside the ruins. Dust and stone rained down like a collapsing mountain. They're going to destroy the core, a soldier yelled. The Dravak ship charged its main cannon. A massive red glow built under its hull, aiming at the ancient machine. No! Hale shouted. If they fire, the entire planet will break apart. Mara knew there was no time, no plan, no chance. Unless. She touched the core again. This time, she didn't step back. She stepped into the light. Another shockwave thundered through the chamber. The golden energy surged upward, wrapping around the Dravak warship like chains of lightning. The ship shook violently. Mara's voice echoed in the chamber, but it wasn't just her voice, it was amplified through the core. If you fear this machine, then humanity will protect it. The Dravak warship tried to fire, but the cannon melted under the core's energy. Flames erupted through its hull. It twisted, cracked, and fell sideways, smashing into the ruins as fire spread across the broken stones. The remaining Dravak soldiers looked at Mara, not with anger this time. With fear. The Dravak retreated. For the first time. They vanished into the shadows, disappearing through cloaked exits faster than any human had ever seen. Mara collapsed, and Hale caught her. "You did it," he whispered. But she shook her head. "No. We didn't awaken a weapon. We awakened a warning." The core dimmed again, returning to a slow, steady hum. Falcon 2 landed desperately. The team carried Hale and Mara inside as explosions echoed through the ruins. Dravak forces were abandoning the planet, trying to escape before the core fully awakened. As the ship lifted off, Titan's crew watched the Dravak fleet retreat into dark space. Rowan's voice came through the channel. "The Dravak ran from us." "No," Mara replied weakly. "They ran from what humanity found." Hale added softly, "And now they know something worse, that humans are not afraid to use it." The Titan fleet formed formation as the Dravak disappeared from sensors. Humanity had survived. But this was only the beginning. Because now Earth knew the truth. The galaxy wasn't terrified of human strength. It was terrified of what humanity might awaken next. And if anyone threatened their allies again, Earth's warships would strike back harder than ever.